June 15, 1990. Following the opening exchanges in the conflict between Israel and the Middle Eastern Coalition, a Mossad agent embedded within the FLA or Free Lebanese Army delivered a report stating 12 downed Israeli pilots being held as POWs were to be transferred to Syria in exchange for additional combat aid. With the Lebanese 1st Armored Brigade heading to escort the prisoners, it was imperative to exfiltrate the pilots before the column arrived. Having tenuously secured air superiority, a mass helicopter operation was devised. The primary objective being to pacify the defenses of the POW compound to allow for extraction aboard transport helos. The secondary objective was to destroy FLA camps which had taken advantage of abandoned equipment left behind after the Lebanese army's recent retreat. The helo force of 113 Squadron departed Naqoura base, with all flights navigating using dead reckoning, engaging outlying air defenses as they progressed towards their objectives. Having made it to the front line, the KA-50s of Pontiac and Apaches of Gunslinger set to work on secondary objectives, while the transport helos of Pontiac and Chevy positioned themselves east, waiting for defenses to be cleared. Pontiac 3ID'd a prisoner convoy heading from Shrifa to Kafir Kella and surgically engaged the military escort vehicles, carefully avoiding hitting the buses carrying the POWs. At the westmost FLA camp, a pair of enemy helos orbited and were engaged by Gunslinger. Unaccustomed to dogfighting in their helicopter and still taking ground fire, a pair of Apaches were lost, and the enemy helos fled southwest. En route, the enemy helos encountered another Gunslinger, who used its 30mm gun to eventually force the crew to ditch. The second helo ran into the Mi-24 Hind of Pontiac 1-4, who wasted no time dispatching the target with a single ATGM, then upon observing the helo Gunslinger forced to the ground moments earlier, destroyed them with a second ATGM shot. By this point, gunships had descended on the POW camp and had begun engaging the defenses. Spotting some of the POWs had made it to the roof, a decision was made to try and accelerate extraction, and the transport helos were sent in but quickly driven back under a hail of gunfire from remaining air defenses and quickly retreated. Gunships continued to work on their targets, being careful to avoid hitting the POWs. With command desperate to extract the pilots, transport helos were ordered to make another attempt, once again coming under fire, but this time resulting in the loss of Chevy 1-1. Sensing the desperate battle on their behalf, some of the uninjured pilots managed to overpower their captors, and in a moment of high drama, broke out and sprinted to a spot north of the camp where they'd be easier to rescue. Spotting the pilots in the open, Chevy 1-2 swooped in, unaware of the extent of the damage they'd taken from ground fire in the previous approaches, and crashed beside the Israeli pilots, who in a turn of events, rescued the crew of the fallen helo and proceeded to exfiltrate by foot. For those pilots unable to walk, an Mi-24 Hind managed to land on the rooftop and extract the remaining pilots, who were quickly taken to medical facilities at Kiryat Shmona. With the primary objective accomplished, gunships returned to the FLA camps and continued to engage targets, but were quickly called back after command received word of inbound enemy fighters. Returning the Israeli POWs to their families has been a huge operational morale boost. However, the failure to diminish the FLA is used as a rallying call, bringing additional fighters into their ranks.